Hi, Crumblers. Welcome back to the Crumbl Mumbl podcast. We are so excited to have you here again with us today. Today is an exciting episode, just like our last one. We have our other co-founder with us today, Sawyer Hemsley. So last episode we had Jason McGowan on, and now we have Sawyer Hemsley on, and we are so excited for him to be here and give you guys more of an inside scoop on how Crumbl came to be, how Crumbl's where it's at today, and how we got here. So yeah. Sawyer, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for inviting me. I could talk about Crumbl all day long.
So good.
Super
I'm
happy
so
to be
glad.
here with you.
Good. Do you want to give us just a little bit of background on you first before we start chatting? Just what were you up to before you started Crumbl? Where did you come from? Like, how did you get here?
So honestly, I feel so lucky and so grateful that Crumbl has been my first career job. But prior to that, I was in college.
Heck yeah.
Because we started Crumbl while I was in my senior year. And so I actually grew up in Idaho, small town, rural community of 5,000 people.
Dang.
And that's where my family's from for generations. But the nearest town over was in Utah, because I'm right on the Idaho-Utah border.
The border, yeah.
And the nearest university was Utah State. So naturally, I fell in love with the university. Went there and studied communication studies with a dual minor in marketing and multimedia.
Love it.
And I was an Aggie through and through. So I was super involved. I was on student government. I planned a lot of the events for the university. And then I actually ran for student body president.
Okay.
Afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I was involved and I just wanted it to kind of be my last hurrah in college. And I was student body president when I was in high school, but I ended up losing that
hate to see it.
Campaign.
Yeah.
But then it was a blessing in disguise because I actually started Crumbl because I needed to fill that void of not being so heavily involved. And now we're here.
Hey, I feel like that's a pretty good trade-off.
Yeah.
I mean, student body president's awesome, but
no, it was way better.
I feel like Crumbl's a pretty good. Yeah.
And so while I was doing that, like we started Crumbl, but I was also working in advertising. My last year, that's when you normally do internships. And I was working for a company out of Arizona, and we were doing just all social media and ads for large law firms and other universities. And I loved it. But while we started Crumbl and me and Jason were talking, we're like, this is going to be something that could be a career. And so I actually went to my boss and I said, I don't think I can continue on and move to Arizona and follow this dream. Yeah. Because I have another dream.
Yeah.
And that was Crumbl cookies. And she was super mad at me. And she's like, she laughed in my face and she said, sugar is not good for people and no one's going to buy cookies. This is a mistake. And I said, it may be a mistake, but I'm going to go with my gut on this. Yeah. And I did it. And I never looked back.
So with that, because I'm assuming she's probably not the only one, right? Who had said things to you.
No, even my close friends and family were laughing because they said, no one's going to buy a cookie that they can make themselves at home. And we all know that. People can make chocolate chip cookies at home. Yeah. You have all the ingredients. It almost comes naturally to know the recipe. They're very simple.
You almost don't need a recipe. You just kind of figure it out.
And you just grow up eating cookies, with whether that's like making them with your mom or your grandma or your siblings. It's just part of life, and that's what makes the cookies so relatable to our consumers and to our crumblers, because they grow up eating cookies.
Yeah, totally. So did you ever, after all these people have said all these things to you, before Crumbl really took off, did you ever for a second be like, oh, what if they were right? Did you ever think that, or was it just the whole time you're like, no, this is going to happen?
I feel like I have, when I dream of something or I want to go after it, I go hard for it. And so I said, if this is going to have my name on it, I've got to work so hard and prove these people wrong. There were glimpses and moments where I'm like, oh, is this the right decision?
I'm sure.
This is a lot of effort and work.
Yeah.
I hope it, comes full circle and actually provides a good result for me.
Yes, of course, yeah.
But, honestly, being partners with Jason and having the support of my mom, because she's the only one that really, truly believed in the concept in those early days, was enough for me. And so even though we had, those people that said this would never work, you know, I dove right in, and from the day one, we saw how much people loved our concept in the cookie, which gave us hope that this could be something that we could turn into a huge opportunity.
Yeah, which you have.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. So with that, I'm so curious, and I know other people have asked this before, like, what was the point where you yourself thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be something huge? Like, when was that turning point for you where you realized that?
So I kind of mentioned it, but it was when Jason looked at me. We were about 2 months in, I would say. And he said, I think I'm going to quit my job and focus on Crumbl full time. And I think you should too. And I'm like, what? This was just for fun. Like, I'm planning to move to Arizona and hopefully finding a manager to run this store while I'm gone.
Yeah.
Because I was the manager.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I think we can definitely do this. We get enough return customers. We have enough buzz online that we can make this something. And at that point in time, we had no plans to franchise the concept. It was like, maybe we open a couple more stores in Utah.
Yeah.
With family and friends. But I trusted him because I'm like, if you've already looked at, you know, all the numbers and you feel like this confident, I leaned on him, honestly.
Yeah.
And I was at the point in my life where I could just kind of go with it. You know, I was just about to graduate college.
Totally.
I had a job lined up, but I feel like in that moment I didn't have a family tying me down. I was kind of a free bird, and I said, well, let's just go for it.
Why not, right?
And so I did, and that's kind of when I knew it was going to be a career for me. After we started, after he quit his job, I quit my job, and we just dove head first.
I'm sure that was a big turning point when Jason, we talked about in the last episode, he has a big family, right?
Absolutely,
and when he came to you and was
does.
like, I'm going to quit my job.
Yeah.
That is providing for my family for this.
7 kids. Like, how do you just walk away from your job, you know?
Exactly. So I'm sure for me, that would have been a moment where I thought, okay, this is really happening.
But honestly, that describes our partnership so well, because Jason is like this huge, big visionary individual. You know, he has dreams and he goes after them. And I kind of like also have those dreams, and I'm a go-getter, but I don't mind following after him and sweeping up the little pieces that maybe he misses or that need to be paid more attention to. And so I think that balance has worked really well for us and in favor of how we've been able to grow Crumbl and be successful.
Definitely, yeah. Because, I mean, Jason, you know, as everyone knows, is our CEO. You're our COO. And you've played a huge part, like you said, in the branding, in the design of Crumbl, all of that, right? So Jason, it sounds like, had the big picture of this is what it will look like long term. And then you said, and I'm going to make it look amazing and be a brand people can get behind.
Yes, the experience behind it. What's going to really bring people in. And so the branding was crucial that we got right. And, you know, we didn't know what we were going to call this thing in the early days. But when I was thinking of the brand, I said, what happens or what actions take place when you eat a cookie? And obviously when you eat cookies, you want them to be delicious. And so if you're eating a delicious cookie, you're probably going to eat all of it, and you're probably going to leave a little bit of crumbs on your shirt or on the table in front of you or wherever you're at. There's going to be crumbs. Yeah. Because hopefully you ate it pretty quick because it was so good.
Because it was so good, yeah.
And so I'm like, crumbs, Crumbl, and that's kind of how I came up with the name Crumbl. And I dropped the E. It's silent anyway, and it's easier to brand on packaging, and it's a little bit more edgy and fun. And so that's where the name came from.
So cool.
But we knew we had to also tie a color to it.
Yes.
And obviously, we chose
color?
pink.
Pink, yes.
It was during the time when kind of millennial pink was hot, you know, back in 2017. But also, I always loved a pink Cadillac that my dad's best friend owned in my little town in Idaho.
Yeah.
Whenever that thing would drive down Main Street, you know, it would turn heads. And people loved it. It was so eye-catching. But it also wasn't that harsh pink, and it wasn't too light of a pink.
And it wasn't flashy either.
And so it was just like the perfect color. And I'm like, this would be a perfect brand color for Crumbl. Because it also would bring in a lot of those cookie moms. And that's the audience that we were chasing in the early days is the cookie mom. Because we were trying to solve a problem and find a need to a solution, which was how do we make making cookies easier and just simple, so those moms don't have to create a mess, don't have to go to the store and buy all these ingredients. And so we said, let's use pink, let's call it Crumbl. And then maybe what our viewers don't know is we didn't start out with the baker that you see today. We started out with a simple cookie
with the baker head. You mean the logo?
The baker head,
Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
didn't have that in the early days when we first started. It was just a simple cookie with a little bite mark out of it. And then that transformed after year one, I believe it was, into the baker head that you see today.
Which is all over the place, and we love it.
Yeah. It's been fun.
That's so awesome. So you're really heavily involved in the cookie calendar, as we call it, right? When cookies come out, all of that. And I think it'd be really interesting to hear a little bit from you about how that, what each week has to it, right?
Yeah.
Because each week's lineup, right, there's so much that goes into it. It's not just you're throwing 6 flavors at every week, right? It's like a whole process of what kind of flavor profiles sit next to what kind of flavors. And so do you want to talk a little bit about that and like what that looks like?
I would love to talk about it. Like, I'm in the process of planning Q1 of 2023, and it is the most stressful thing. You wouldn't think it would be, but it is, because especially now with supply chain issues,
supply chain.
To focus on like what can we actually get to 500 plus stores across the nation. So I look at a variety of things. I look at, different tastes and profiles and what they look like you mentioned, next to each other. How easy are they for the baker? Because you can't put 5 pie cookies in a week or really hard cookies, or it's going to slow down the lines. It's going to make customers upset. The quality will decrease. I also look at color, like what's going to be an energetic, fun, vibrant box for someone to gift to their friend or to open and take an Instagram picture of. And there's just a lot of different things that come into play when selecting the calendar, even as far as seasonal cookies or flavors or specialty weeks, as we just recently had. We had Fair Week. So those also have a role in it. And then also, just to circle back with how often does that cookie run and how often did it just appear on the menu?
How recently?
Yes.
Yeah.
So just a lot of different things.
So many things. Yeah, because I think a lot of people think, they just come up with fun flavors and they throw them in a box every week, right? But there's so much to it. And especially, because we have so many different flavor profiles within each type of cookie. We have so many chocolate flavors. We have so many sugar flavors. We have all these kinds. And so you don't want to open a box of, 5 chocolate flavors and 1 fruit or whatever, right? You've got to have like diversity in each box.
And that's what I try to do. Like, I try to do a peanut butter every other week, because we do have a lot of peanut butter lovers.
A lot of peanut butter.
I know there's people that do not like peanut butter. Don't come at us. But we want to try to find something for everybody, so they always keep coming and tasting weekly. We always have a chocolate every week, and then we try to have fruit. Again, that's that variety every week.
Totally. So speaking of all the different flavors, as COO of Crumbl, what is your favorite flavor?
So this is one of the hardest questions that people ask me.
I hate to do this to you.
I like all the cookies. Like, you don't see a cherry cookie on the menu because I don't like cherries. But it's not just about me, and we're going to create a couple of cherry flavors.
Well, we have, Brownie Sundae has a cherry on it,
right? It has a cherry, but easily
steps.
you can toss that thing off. And just kidding.
That was the method behind the
baby
madness
steps.
of that.
No, but we're trying to look at different cherry options. But my favorite currently, I would say, is the Kentucky butter cake.
That's Jason's.
Did he say that same thing?
Wow, you guys should start a business together.
Well, I almost think,
you think alike.
I know. And it changes. Like, I can't tell you that it's always been one. But it changes. Right now, I'm currently obsessed with butter cake.
It's so good.
I think it's a popular food category right now, and it's just super yummy.
It's so good. It melts in your mouth. And
and we're coming out with a brand
awesome.
new version of a butter cake that people may not know about.
But
it's a similar cookie to our classic butter cake, but it has a raspberry topping to it.
Oh, that sounds so awesome.
And then it's topped with some whipped cream.
Oh my gosh,
like a type
amazing.
Of cream that is just... It blends so well with the entire profile that people are just going to love it. So I'm excited for that.
Because it's already, the butter cake is already such a good experience in the cookie, and add the fruit and whipped cream. Oh, I'm so excited.
But if I were to say, if a long-standing cookie flavor that I've loved has been chocolate cake. Because if I wasn't eating cookies, I would be eating chocolate cake.
Yes.
I love dessert.
Yeah. And so it's perfect because it's the cookie spin on chocolate cake.
Yes. So that's my go-to, aside from my current Kentucky butter cake obsession.
I think that's great. And I love also with Crumbl, as a side note, we've really taken basically any dessert you can think of, right? Cakes, cookies, candies. turned it into a cookie.
That's where we pull our inspiration
Right? Which
from.
is so cool.
But the main thing about Crumbl is we try to find things that people grew up with. You
Nostalgia.
know? Yes, nostalgia. It's huge. So we think back, like, what can people tie a memory to a specific flavor? Is that a fruit snack? Is that a certain candy? Is it a hard candy from grandpa that he used to pull out of his pocket?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that makes the product and the experience more memorable for our Crumblers out there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Sawyer, for taking the time today.
Thanks for inviting me.
So great to get, the intel from you on Crumbl, and I'm sure people have loved listening. And we will be back with another episode soon. Thanks, you guys. Bye.